Dear grade 9 students, welcome back to the biology class. Today we're gonna move to the first activity in this chapter, and which talks about the structure of the heart. So here is our circulatory system that consists of the heart and the blood vessels. In addition to the two types of blood, we have the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. This is our pumping machine. You can notice that when the heart pumps, I can notice that we have different parts. Here we have two upper parts and this lower one. In addition to these blood vessels, colored with blue to show that they carry the oxygenated blood, and blood vessels colored with red just to show that they carry oxygenated blood. I will start with the blue colored vessels that carry deoxygenated blood. This is the first one, and this is the name Vena Cava, and in particular superior vena cava. This blood vessel carries blood lacking oxygen from the head, neck, and arms, which means from the upper organs back into the heart. But pay attention that the blood is coming back to the right side and to an area called atrium or auricle. We have another vena cava, which is the superior one, which is the inferior one, and it also carries deoxygenated blood, but from the lower organs back into the heart, to the right side, and to an area called atrium or auricle. We have another blue colored blood vessel, and this time we're talking about an artery. So an artery carries blood from the heart to the body organs, and because it is called pulmonary, I can guess that this artery is actually carrying the blood from the heart into the lungs in particular. You will see also that this blood vessel carries deoxygenated blood from the heart, and in particular from the right side of the heart, and from an area called ventricle instead of auricle. So I can deduce that the deoxygenated blood coming back from the body organs, or the blood which is going to be pumped outside the heart, once we say deoxygenated, this means that we are talking about the right side of the heart. So it seems that the right side of the heart is specific for deoxygenated blood. This is point number one. The second point, once the blood reaches the heart, it reaches an area called auricle. Once we want to pump the blood outside the heart, we pump it from an area called ventricle. Now let's move to the red colored blood vessels, starting with these four blood vessels that belong to the same type, which is a vein, which means that it carries blood back from the body organs into the heart. And from its name, pulmonary, I can guess that it is carrying the blood back from the lungs, rich in oxygen, to the heart. But this time, because we're talking about oxygenated blood, we are going to reach the left side of the heart. So it seems that the left side of the heart is specific for oxygenated blood. But pay attention that the blood is reaching the heart and reaching an area called auricle also. So yes, auricles are specific for receiving blood, whether the blood is deoxygenated at the right side or oxygenated at the left side. Finally, we have this large blood vessel, which is called aorta, and it carries the blood which is rich in oxygen, so at the left side, from the heart, and in particular from the ventricles to all the body organs. Pay attention that this blood vessel is coming out from this area, it turns, and then it goes down. So this is the same blood vessel, which is an aorta. So we have two veins, the vena cava and the pulmonary vein. We have two arteries, the pulmonary artery and the aorta. Finally, I have to talk about these blood vessels which are in the wall of the heart, in the myocardium. These blood vessels are called, let's get the name, press on them. They are called coronary arteries, and these arteries are responsible for supplying the heart itself. Because the heart is an organ just like any other organ, it has its own needs, oxygen gas and the nutrients. So the blood vessel which is responsible for supplying the myocardium is called the coronary artery, and it actually branches off the aorta. This is the aorta, and here we have branching for the coronary arteries. And now we will start with the internal examination of the heart. So we can say that the heart is made up of 4 chambers. We have 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. These 2 together make the right heart. So we have the right auricle or atrium with the right ventricle. Together we have the right heart, which is specific for deoxygenated blood. So here we have the opening of the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. So the blood reaches the auricle by these 2 vena cavae, and then the blood is moving to the ventricles, from the ventricles into the pulmonary artery. And now the other side, which is made up of the left atrium and the left ventricle, together we have the left heart. The blood is coming back from the lungs by pulmonary veins to fill the auricle, the left auricle in particular, and then the blood will move to the left ventricle to be pushed into the aorta. So the aorta takes the blood into the body organs. Pay attention that these 2 sides are separated by this structure which is called the septum, which is important to avoid any mixing between the 2 different types of blood. Now I want you to make an examination for the wall of the auricles and the wall of the ventricles and make a comparison between them. And try to think about the reason behind this difference. You can pause the video, think about it, and write down your answer. So yes, the blood reaches the auricles, and the auricles must push the blood down into the ventricles. So the blood is moving within the heart from auricles down into ventricles, which is a very short distance, and this means that we need a simple push. So we need pressure, which is a very low pressure, just to allow the blood to flow easily from auricles into ventricles. But once the blood reaches the ventricles must provide a strong push in order for the blood to move from ventricles into arteries and then from arteries to all the body organs. So the push right here should be stronger than that achieved by auricles. Because of that, we can say that the wall of the ventricles is thicker than the wall of the auricles, because ventricles are supposed to exert more pressure for the blood to go outside the heart, makes its circulation, and then comes back into the heart. If we make more examination between the left ventricle and the right ventricle concerning the wall, we can notice also a difference between them. I can notice that the wall of the left ventricle is thicker than the wall of the right ventricle. So please think about the reason in this case also. So pause the video and think about the reason. Yes, the left ventricle should push the blood, the oxygenated blood, to all the body organs, which is a very, very long distance, while the right ventricle should push the deoxygenated blood into the lungs. So the left ventricle should push the blood for a longer distance, longer than that which should be covered by the blood which is sent by the right ventricle. Because of that, we have a thicker wall in the left ventricle than the right ventricle. Now we have to talk about some special structures present in the wall, present inside the heart. Here we have this special structure. right here between the right atrium and the right ventricle, and similarly for the other side between the left atrium and the left ventricle. These special structures are called valves. This one is called tricuspid, and this one is called bicuspid valve. We have also right here at the base of our arteries, the pulmonary artery and the aorta, we have also some valves. Now, in order to study the function of these valves, tricuspid, bicuspid, sigmoid valves, we need to allow the blood to flow into the heart, and let's see the behavior of these valves. So let's fill the auricles, let's fill them with blood. So the auricles are filled and push the blood down into the ventricles. Let me check the behavior of the tricuspid and bicuspid valve. Keep your eyes on. So they open just to allow the blood to flow down into the ventricles. And now the blood is filling the two ventricles, and I expect that the ventricles now should push the blood into the arteries. However, we have a risk that this blood can move in another direction, which is to move backward into the auricles. So we need something to prevent this back flow. I wish that these two valves, I wish that they close, but the sigmoid valve right here at the base of the aorta and the sigmoid valve which is at the base of the pulmonary artery, I suppose that they have to open just to allow the blood to flow in one direction. Let's give them a signal. I will press on the tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valve. It has another name, mitral valve, but we call it bicuspid. So I'll press on it to see what will happen now. Yes, they close. Sigmoid valves open. When they close, sigmoid valves open. So the blood is moving from auricles into the ventricles, from ventricles into arteries. Similarly for the other side, from auricles down into ventricles, from ventricles into arteries. To prevent the backflow of blood, the valves open in one way, in one direction.